Hey everyone, this is Mike from Practical Jobs to Be Done. And today I'd like to go over a use case that came up from somebody who subscribes to me. And it's a good question. A couple of the prompts that I'm about to show you in this, I did not include in the master class, but I am going to include them for free in a PDF so that you can play around with them. But the question really stems from an inability to understand what should I study. I'm in an industry, I am in a sector, I'm in a subsector, I'm in a sub-subsector, and we're making certain products or a product, and I'm not sure what the job is. I'm not sure how to frame it to do a study. And my first response is don't. Why do you think you need to study a job in that kind of detail if you can't even frame it or scope it properly? So, what I want to do is show you a way to avoid what we see in consulting, which is bespoke models that don't fit together with other models that you might do later because consultants are catering to the whims of their sponsors. I think a better way is to systemize it. So what I like to do is basically create a hierarchy of the industry. And then we can go down to whatever level we want, figure out what are the roles at that level and what are the jobs that those roles might be responsible for. You can do it at any level, but obviously the higher you go up in industries, you know, the more elevated that role is, and probably um, the more distance there is between a person in a role and the actual work getting done. Also, the higher you go up, the less fidelity you have. So it's potentially less actionable. And as we always say, like we look at this like a pyramid, with aspirations at the top, I want to be CEO. And down at the bottom is, I want to find that menu item that we need to be somewhere in the middle where it's actionable, but it also can help us highlight where opportunities exist in that market that we're looking at. So let's take a look at what I've done. I'm not going to run through all of the prompts and have you sit there watching ChatGPT generate everything for you or for this exercise, but I will kind of show you that I have the prompts and I'm going to share them with you. So this particular request came out of somebody who is studying the testing of automotive electronics. So the job executor, the end user, is a test technician or a test engineer or something, quality assurance person, something like that. And what we want to do is figure out how can we go in a very structured way where everything fits together perfectly down the chain to get to that job. So I generated these top level industry classifications months ago with an old prompt on probably the old version of ChatGPT. So I'm not going to rerun that. I'm just going to use this top level thing, and I began expanding it out with my more current prompts earlier today. So this is clearly in the manufacturing space. So we are going to take a look at subsectors within the manufacturing space. So remember, industry, sectors, subsectors. So I created a level below the industry of manufacturing and came up with these subsectors. And I've got them in my handy Notion database. And as we scroll down, we're going to look for a place where it makes sense to find this role and these jobs that we're looking for. It's probably not in the computer, electronic, and manufacturing space because that is not in the context of automotive, but it's probably down here in this transportation equipment manufacturing sector. So we're gonna look there. I generated subsectors for that already, and so I'm gonna stop right here and just kind of show you how I do that. You're gonna have access to this file. Let me move my mug over here. So we can generate industries. For each industry, we can generate sectors. For each sector, we can generate subsectors. And for each subsector, we can also generate more subsectors. We just move everything up a notch. So the last sector becomes the industry, and this sector is the subsector becomes the sector. You get it? I don't have an infinite hierarchy of prompts. I don't need to do that because having that much context probably isn't that helpful. So we can generate this basic pyramid within the industry. Now, one of the things for those of you that have been in the course, you'll have seen this fidelity variable. This use is a little bit different than what I did for the job map, but basically I stick to this one right here, this option, comprehensively. It starts the sentence off, or starts that part of the sentence off, comprehensively list all of the subsectors. So I usually just strip these off, and this is an instruction. So you just need the one word. And then once we get down to that level where we think we need to be to find that job, we need to generate roles. We need to know what the roles are within that sector, subsector, subsector, because without the role, we can't identify the job. You need a job executor to identify the job. For example, I'll give you a good example. If anybody's seen my the post I did on generating jobs from an industry, you'll see that I did one on Q-tips, cotton swabs. And I don't know if I did it in that blog post or not, but if you put a different job executor in it, you get a completely different list of jobs. If you do like the mother of a toddler versus a nurse practitioner, you're going to get different jobs. They use them differently. So it's really important that you figure this out. And then once we've done that, we can plug all that into this jobs to be done in an industry to figure out what the potential jobs are. So I'm not going to go through this in great detail. I think I'm using variables, as you've seen. So as you run a prompt, you can update one or more of these variables in the window below the results, and it'll persist these other variables in memory, and it will update and override the one that you changed. So if you want to change the subsector, you can do that. In a success metric, you just change the step and everything else stays the same. You get a different list of success metrics. So that's kind of the way that this whole thing works. So going through that would be rather monotonous. Trust me, I've been doing it all day. So back to our little database here. So we are in the transportation equipment manufacturing level. And now we're looking for a place we can call home. And we're not finding anything about electronics, so we're going to look at vehicle parts and accessories manufacturing. And then within that level, we're going to find automotive, electrical, and electronic equipment manufacturing. That's where we want to be. Now, I did go one level below that again, just for giggles, but you may need to do that because you may be studying the people that do ignition system component manufacturing or ECU manufacturing or in-vehicle infotainment, things like that. But we're just going to stick to this level here and kind of get a general sense, because maybe in some of these places there's a lot of shared resources as far as how you test things. There might be shared software, things like that. I know in the software world, you can really start creating problems if everybody's using a different testing platform, and so I'm going to make that assumption here. So we're just going to look for roles. So I took the end user prompt and I generated these roles for the electrical and electronic equipment manufacturing subsector. Got a mush mouth today. So what we're looking for is somebody who does testing. And lo and behold, there was a test engineer in the output. So now that we have our test engineer as the job executor or the end user, now we can generate jobs that end user may be responsible for, or end users in that role, that high level category role. You may have multiple people in a role like that, and they may be responsible for different jobs. But let's take a look at what the jobs are that we may find in this subsector for a test engineer. And clearly, an automotive electrician is going to have different jobs. So here's some jobs that they may have. So these might be jobs to be done: testing components, identifying defects, analyzing performance data, improving product design. I decided to take a look at identifying defects, and what we want to do here is ask ourselves, if we're overseeing this subsector, all right, and we want to figure out what to study, and we're focused on test engineers, which job do we study? That's a good question. So we can do this a couple of ways. We can start deep. We can just assume a job, just pick one of them. Let's just do this job. Create job maps, success metrics, launch a big complex survey, pay somebody a lot of money to help us do it, and not be certain that that's the one we should be looking at. Or we can simply take all of these jobs, put them in a survey, capture some basic profiling and screening data, and have the people that respond to the survey simply rate how important is this job to you, how difficult is this job for you to do, or how satisfied are you with your ability to get this job done. And you can ask other questions. I mean, you can get into, I mentioned difficulty. We could break effort down into mental or physical effort. We can get into a lot of different questions. How frequently do you have to do this job? The rating scale is up to you. You don't have to follow somebody else's opinion of what the perfect way to do this is. At the end of the day, you're trying to get answers that support your research imperative and support your ability to communicate with your stakeholder, in an effective and hopefully time effective way, so that they get answers to their questions and you guys can all start doing things. If you have to wait 4 months, that's just not, my experience in industry, nobody wants to wait more than 2 weeks before they start doing stuff. So rate the jobs quickly. You can put a survey together fast and have some answers back relatively quickly. Or if you need a little bit more fidelity to that, and you kind of know identifying defects is the one that you want to focus on, but you don't want to do a deep study yet, you can do if you've signed up for the wait list on the master class, you've already seen the prompts for the ideals and the root causes for those ideals. You can generate those. So if you can go generate 15 ideal states. Don't worry about a job map. Don't worry about desired outcomes or customer success metrics. Just have them rate these. Again, you can use a simple scale. You can use a 3-point scale. It's unimportant, it's neutral, it's important. You can use importance and satisfaction, importance and difficulty and satisfaction. the key here is to help you zero in on what it is that either you can take action on, or zero in on contexts for when you decide to do a deeper study. This is beneficial because, as I also showed in that waitlist course, you can generate basically root causes for the inability to achieve this desired state, or this ideal state. So think about this way: you could field a basic survey of these ideals. There's different ways to do this, and there's still some experimentation going on amongst a few of my friends. But you can have these users also answer the root cause question. So have them rate the ideal, then have them answer the root cause. Which of these apply to your situation? Select all that apply. So if you've got 15 root causes, they could check off 2 or 3. Somebody else could check off a different one, and that gives you some insights. The other way to do it is just don't do that. Make it a simpler survey, and then just have a small workshop with internal stakeholders and SMEs to go over that and figure that out. You may know better than end users what the root causes are of certain ideals. So that's certainly an option for you. I don't think I put root causes in here, and there's really no reason to do that. You've already seen it in the other course. So the next thing that we are going to consider is really doing the job map. And I wanted to cover this too, because the question has come up. You don't see other practitioners talking about generating contexts necessarily. It's not a part of the frameworks that you see. It's part of my framework, because context is really important. And what we're trying to do here is understand, for this larger universal job, what are the various contexts in which somebody might be performing the job. So in the case of a test engineer in that subsector that we were looking at, here are some potential contexts that they may be performing the job in. So you've got two questions. Well, you got a question to answer. One is, do I field a survey that's just kind of got a universal job map and success metrics, and then just capture context and try to maybe capture some minimums for certain contexts, minimum number of respondents who are supplier quality assessment, who are doing customer feedback analysis, warranty claim investigations, that sort of thing? Or do you want to feed that context into your job itself as a contextual clarifier? Because I'll tell you, and I believe I shared a catalog on equestrian jobs that did this, but basically you'll find that the maps are very different. The universal map will not be anything like a contextualized map, and the various different contexts will all have their own differences in their maps as well. And obviously, as a result, you're going to get different success metrics, because some of the steps in one context aren't going to be in others. So you have to make that decision. The good news is that you can generate these contexts and have those conversations before you start investing money. So what I did was I generated a universal map for this job of identifying defects, and I also generated one for the context of regulatory compliance testing. And let's just take a quick look. I'm not going to generate the jobs here for you. They're all in the course. I just wanted to show you that it could be done. No context job map. I made this, I believe, it's low fidelity. For anybody that's seen the prompt, I've got levels of fidelity in there that determine how lengthy the output is in the number of steps. So you see review manufacturing specifications is the first step. So let's take a look at the contextual map and for regulatory compliance testing. And we'll see that the first step is review regulatory standards. So they are fundamentally different. So I just wanted to kind of give a quick overview of how we can use like a structured industry breakdown to make sure that we are consistent in our approach and that we're not conflating things together, and that you can build out a catalog within your industry hierarchy, and your friends and colleagues all over the organization are going to be coming to you for help if you've got that, because you're going to know more potentially about their areas. So areas that are, maybe they supply you, maybe they're customers of your area, or maybe they're above you or below you. There's all kinds of ways to look at this, but I think having this kind of structure in the way you think about what is the job that I want to study, I think it's critical. And this applies to any industry. It could be related to healthcare industry. You can get all the way down into special, surgical procedures. The thing is I've seen studies that are just, they make no sense to me, because they gave up too much control and sacrificed the rules that we try to live by. This is a rule I'd like to have in place, and I hope you all will kind of embrace. Set up a hierarchy. Everything needs to tie together. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'd love to have sat there and run prompts for you all day, but I would have bored you to tears. So hopefully this helps. I hope it answers the question that was asked of me this morning. And I will do more of these for specific industries as the questions come up. So have fun, everybody.